We're asked to find 57.5% of what number is 92. 57.5% is not a very convenient format to work with mathematically, so we're going to change the way this appears, but as always in math, we're not allowed to change the value. So if we have 57.5%, first let's focus on this 1/2. This would be easier to work with if it was a decimal. So 1/2 is equivalent to 5/10. If you're not clearly aware of that, 1/2 is the same as 1 divided by 2. So here's 1 divided by 2. It doesn't fit, so you have to put the decimal here that's been sitting there all along. It's just not explicitly written. You have to tell the world it's here. You can give yourself as many zeros as you like, because we have not changed the value of anything on the paper. We're just changing its appearance. 2 goes into 10 5 times, gives you a 10 with nothing left over. Okay? So instead of writing the fraction 1/2, I'm just going to write the decimal equivalent 5/10. Alright? So we still have 57 5/10%. Now I want to do away with the percent sign. And again, I'm going to discuss the logic, but once you know the logic, it's perfectly fine to use a bit of a shortcut. Alright, percent means per 100. Okay, that means divided by 100. So if I'm not going to write that sign, I have to write this. So we have 57.5, or 57 5/10, divided by 100. When you divide a number by 100, the net effect is the decimal moves to the left 2 spaces. So we have 57 5/10. Let's see. The decimal was here, but if I divide by 100, it moves 2 spaces to the left. Okay? So 57.5% is the same as 575 thousandths. Okay? This is exactly the same as that. It just looks different, but the value is preserved. Okay, of what number? This means times what number is 92. Okay, right now you have an algebraic equation and you can solve for x. You need to get rid of 575 thousandths times x, so the opposite operation is division. You have to do the same operation on each side to keep it balanced. Alright. On the left side, cleans up very quickly, as always. You have x, well, you have 1x, but you're not required to write the 1. And then to clean this up, you're going to have to do a little work. So let's look at, make sure I'm not going to run out of space here. 92 divided by 575 thousandths. Okay, you cannot have your decimal in front, so you have to move it 3 spaces to keep things balanced, which we're always concerned with balance in mathematics. You have to put in your decimal and then move it 3 spaces. You have to tell the world where it is, and you need zeros to hold those spaces. Okay, now 575 goes into 920, I suspect 1 time, because twice would be over 1,000. 5, 11, 4, and that's 8. 345 left over. Bring down your next digit. 575 is almost 600, and 6 would go into 34 maybe 5 times, so that's worth a try. Maybe 6 times. It's going to be close. So I'm going to start out with, let's see, I got to move this up a little more. 575 times 5. Let's see where that gets us. 20, there's 35, 37, 25, it's 28. I wonder if another will fit. Alright, and I kind of keep up with these as I'm using them. So this was 5 times. Just put a little circle there. If I add another 575, what do I get? 14, 15. 9 is 14. 3, 4, 5, 0, that was 6 times. And it's a good idea to keep track of these as you work. Okay, so it went in 6 times, and that gave us 3,450. When you subtract, there's nothing. Sorry about all this other stuff down here, but all we have to do is bring down one more digit. Every time you bring down a digit, you have to ask and answer. How many times does 575 go into 0? Why, it goes in there 0 times. Alright. So, sliding this back, you solved x equals 160. And it's a good idea to see if this answer makes sense. 57.5% of 160 is 92. Does that make sense? Well, that's half of 160 would be about 80. So yeah, 92 sounds right. So 160 seems like a valid answer. Now I use this using an equation. Right here I used an equation. Sometimes people solve these short questions with a proportion. So I'll give us a little dividing line. And the way you set up your proportion, some people refer to the amount over the base being equivalent to the percentage over 100. This is already a fairly mechanical approach, so I don't feel too sheepish about saying, well, I can also just say is over of is equal to percent over 100. Again, this is maybe a little bit more removed from the logic. The equation is more closely tied to the logic of what's being said and how you solve it. If we follow this format, usually the percentage is not that hard to figure out because, I'll get everything on the screen here, this symbol means per 100, okay? And we figured out that 57.5 is the same as 57 5/10. So I'll just put 57 5/10 over 100. Okay? I've rewritten this directly into this. Now as far as the left side of our proportion, of is next to what number, so for of, that's what number, we'll use a variable x, and then is 92 places the 92 on top. Okay? Whenever you have a proportion, a fraction equals a fraction with one variable you seek, you can use cross products to solve it. So x times 57 5/10 is 57 5/10 x. All right? And when we multiply cross products in this direction, we have 100 times 92. There's 92, and you just tack on 2 zeros for the 100. To get x by itself, you need to get rid of 57 5/10. Better slide this up a little. So divide, it's held there by multiplication, so you're going to use the opposite operation, division. 57 5/10. You have to divide each side by that value, and the left side cleans up quickly, as it always does. That's 1x, or we can just write x equal to. Now we have 9,200 divided by 57 5/10. It's going to be the same thing as we got over here, but I'll just show you how it works out. It looks a little bit different. So here's 9,200 divided by 57 5/10. You have one decimal out in front, so you have to move it one place. To keep it balanced, you have to put in the decimal that's been sitting there. It's just not written. Now it's explicitly written. You have to move it one place in order to balance what you did out here. You have to tell the world what you've done, and you need a 0 to hold that position. And we've already done our calculations, so we'll move a little more quickly here. 575 goes into 920 one time. 575. We were left with 345. Bring down that 0. Oop, I brought down the wrong 0. And got to be real careful with your places. Let me erase that. Well, I can't erase it, but I can cover it up. That's not the 0 that I brought down. Sorry about all this delay here. This 0 has not been used, so that's the 0 that I'm bringing down. Okay? 575 goes into 3,450. We figured out to be 6 times, and it gave us 3,450 with nothing left over. And finally, I'm bringing down this last 0. Every time you bring down a number, you have to ask and answer the question. How many times does 575 go into 0? It goes in 0 times. So you see we end up with the same values. Okay? So we found out that x is equal to 160 using either the equation, whoops, things slid around here, which is what we set up at the beginning, or we tried it the other way using a proportion. Okay?